This is Seandell Jackson, standing in the Milwaukee County Courthouse as he faces sentencing for the murder of Nathan Potter, a bright college student whose life was brutally cut short. At 18, Jackson and a friend were reportedly hunting for victims when they targeted Potter. When they discovered he had no cash, Jackson shot him dead. The very next day, Jackson fled to Mississippi, only to be captured after his uncle tipped off the police. Throughout the trial, Jackson's demeanor was unnerving. He made gestures toward Potter's grieving family, and even smirked as he was escorted out of the courtroom. Before sentencing, his tearful mother pleaded,
"When I saw it on the news, I even cried. I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine what that mother is going through. I never had a clue that my child had anything to do with it. My son is not a monster. He is not a monster."
Yet, following a brief apology, the judge sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Jackson reacted with an emotional outburst.
It sparked an outburst. Deputies restrained Jackson with pepper spray.
As deputies restrained him, a family member shouted at the victim's family. His accomplice, who acted as the lookout, pleaded guilty and received a 12-year prison sentence. Next, we shift our focus to Jennifer Mee. Once celebrated at 15 as the hiccup girl for her uncontrollable hiccups, her early brush with fame was soon overshadowed by a turn toward darkness. At 19, Mee found herself entangled in a murder case after allegedly orchestrating a robbery that led to the death of a 22-year-old man. After meeting the victim online, she enlisted the help of her boyfriend, Lamont Newton, and friend Laron Rayford. Luring the unsuspecting victim to a vacant home, her accomplices robbed and fatally shot him for a paltry $50. Later, during a recorded call with her mother in jail, she curtly explained,
"It all went wrong for me. It just went downhill after everything happened."
I have a free call from
Jennifer Mee. I got charged for murder first degree.
Charged for murder in the first degree. What charges? Who did you kill?
I didn't do nothing. I was just there at the wrong time at the wrong place.
found guilty of first-degree murder, Mee was handed a life sentence without parole.
Jury finds as follows: defendant in this case, defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as charged. So said we all.
You can see that Mee broke down right as that verdict was read. She was obviously hoping that the jury would convict her on a lesser charge, perhaps accessory to murder or manslaughter. Now, though, she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars for the murder of Shannon Griffin. Now, prosecutors told jurors today that even though Mee did not pull that trigger 3 years ago, she ultimately orchestrated Griffin's death and lured him to that robbery gone.
We've always wanted it to be about the victim, who is Shannon Griffin. And it's not about it's just, just too much right now, because we are still grieving. And we just wanted it to be about him.
It's been a long journey. It's been almost 3 years. It's been a struggle, and we're just really grateful to the state for pushing this through.
Her co-defendants were also found guilty of first-degree felony murder and received life sentences. Her transformation from a viral sensation to a convicted conspirator makes us wonder, how can early fame and vulnerability twist into a calculated descent into crime? Now, we turn our attention to the case of 16-year-old Dylan Schumaker in Buffalo, New York. While babysitting his girlfriend's 23-month-old child, Schumaker lost control, and in his desperate bid to silence incessant crying, he beat the toddler to death. Throughout his trial, he claimed that he never intended to kill, only to quiet the child. In a heart-rending moment during sentencing, Schumaker broke down, saying,
Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Dylan Schumaker walked into a state Supreme Courtroom pleading his case, telling his victim's mother and the court he's remorseful for what he did.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
Based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
Well, we don't know that. I think it's completely unlikely. It was a situational, circumstantial thing.
Earlier, in a recorded conversation with his mother, he had remarked,
"In a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated," and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
That statement speaks volumes to me. The night you offered to babysit Austin, you were busy on your cell phone, texting over 200 times, trying to sell drugs. That doesn't seem to me as someone who's trying to be a good role model for the child. Too bad that was not all you did. Ignore the kid, try to sell drugs on the phone. No. When the texting stopped, the brutal poundings of Austin took place. It is a judgment of this court that upon your conviction for the crime of murder in the second degree, that you be sentenced to an indeterminate term of imprisonment which will have a maximum of life. The court hereby imposes a minimum sentence of 25 years. The surcharge is $300, the crime victim's assistance fee is $25, and the $50 DNA data bank fee, all to be paid out of prison funds. You have 30 days within which to file a notice of appeal.
Initially sentenced to 25 years to life, Schumaker's term was later reduced to 18 years to life by an appellate court. The court cited his youth, lack of prior convictions, and mental health issues as mitigating factors. Our fourth story takes us to Los Angeles, where 19-year-old Brandon Spencer became the center of a violent incident at a USC Halloween party in 2012. Amid gang-related tensions, gunfire erupted, injuring 4 people. Spencer fled the scene, but was apprehended shortly after. Despite his claims of innocence, evidence of gang affiliations and eyewitness testimonies led to his conviction.
I'm sorry for what happened, Your Honor, but I need to life in prison. And I'm not a bad person, but I made mistakes. But I'm not just some gangbanger that she tried to portray me as.
In court, Spencer broke down emotionally, banging his head on the table as deputies restrained him. He was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. It makes us ask, can young people caught in this life ever get a second chance? Or does one mistake mean they'll spend the rest of their lives in prison? Finally, we examine the case of Martice Fuller in Kenosha County, Wisconsin, where a tragic act of violence has left a community grappling with the loss of a young life. At just 15 years old, Fuller was charged with the murder of his ex-girlfriend, 15-year-old Kaylee Juga, and the attempted murder of her mother, Stephanie Juga. On May 9, 2019, Fuller reportedly broke into Kaylee's home armed with a handgun. He fatally shot Kaylee while she was in her bedroom listening to music. When Stephanie entered the room and attempted to intervene, she was shot twice but survived, and later identified Fuller as the shooter. Despite pleading not guilty, Fuller was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide and attempted first-degree intentional homicide. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence of Fuller's escalating, controlling, and violent behavior following the breakup, including stalking and harassment of Kaylee. Witnesses testified to his increasingly erratic actions, which culminated in the tragic events of that day. At sentencing, Fuller's attorney read a statement on his behalf, in which he expressed sorrow for the pain caused, but maintained his innocence.
Martice writes, "Wholeheartedly, I wanted to write this giving my sincerest apologies to this family I once shared time and love with. Truthfully, I am sorry about the pain you've all suffered through this, but more importantly, the loss of my ex-girlfriend Kaylee that I loved too. So I am sorry. Despite the hatred that is against me, I still am sorry. But I have to continue to stand innocent because I am. And I know that I barely showed emotion throughout my time, but in all honesty, it is because it's hard to have tears left to cry knowing my mom lost a son, one of her children too. But I am sorry, and I hope you all can eventually see in your hearts and vision that I am not the person the media has made me out to be."
The judge, however, emphasized the calculated nature of the crime and the lack of remorse shown by Fuller. She sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, stating,
"You have not shown any attempts to acknowledge your wrong or express remorse in your actions. You are a very dangerous and a damaged human being. You have the soul that God gave each one of us, but it seems it is not bent toward compassion, kindness, or remorse. I'll pray that it be repaired in some manner, but I don't hold the solution for it. You don't have a history of mental illness. You're intelligent, you are socially developed, you are athletically gifted, you have no prior record. People believed in you and your talents and your future. Your parents worked on your behalf to raise you well. You rejected them, you rejected the coaches who could have helped you, you rejected the rules of society, and you rejected the rule of law in the processing of this case. The attempting of taking the life of Mrs. Juga was a continued part of your plan to cover your murder of Kaylee, and luckily for her, she ran out of ammunition. I don't have any ability to trust that you will never commit these acts again. You continued violent behavior in the jail. The court has no trust whatsoever. So in the interest of protecting the public, the court orders that on count 1, you are sentenced to life in prison without eligibility for extended supervision. The court is ordering 15 years in prison, followed by 6 years of extended supervision, consecutive to count 1. And on count 3, the court orders 5 years of initial confinement and 3 years of extended supervision.